It is still this morning on ITV, bringing us to our first talking point where we shall be assessing demolition in the FCT. For those that are familiar with the city, you know it has never been so since the former minister Malam Nasri El-Rufai left office. And from what we have seen from 2020, there has been city sanitation, and that definitely will come with removal of structures, well, illegal structures and structures without plan. The structure may be fine, it may be approved, but if it is on a wrong place, definitely it must give way. We have seen so many, from the Buzape axis to the Kuje axis, the Kubwa, Buari. We have seen demolition in Pape. The list is endless. But the question remains, when the structures are coming, why didn't the official of FCTA sound one? Why was it not marked? Why allow the developer to take it to window level? You saw it, you smile. It gets to lintel, you're happy about it. The roof, a plaster, and people begin to dwell in it. And we are coming to say this structure is going to go down. And we have seen many of those structures. The one that took place in Ido, where buildings of multi-million naira were pulled down, is also still there in the minds of people. And so we are going to be looking at why is it so, what can be done better to ensure that people whose livelihood, there are those that their livelihood is on the structure they have, of course, taken away. The secretary, Command and Control Center of the FCTA, Mr. Olumuji Peter, is here, and we shall be looking at this through his eyes. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, it's my pleasure.
Yes. Of course, Charity is equally here, and we'll be looking for answers through the eyes of Mr. Peter. So let's start by asking you, what is it about removing structures that are already in existence for decades? What do you gain?
I love the question that what do we gain? What we gain is to ensure that everyone residing in FCT live in a safe and secured environment. Like you made mention during your introduction about Ido Sabo, the removal that was done there is because they contravene the master plan of that particular location. Along that airport road, people are not meant to build their houses along the airport road. There's a certain meter, 150 meter setback that have been approved. Then aside that 150 meter setback, you also have the farm line for the indigene. But unfortunately, some people went to sell both the setback and the farm land to non-indigens. And most of these people always, during the removal, when we interact with them, they always tell us that they know the stand of the law. They know the stand of FCTA, that they are not meant to purchase such parcel of land. But that what they have at the back of their mind is that development will not get there soon. So they want to quickly erect buildings there, make what they can make, recover their expenditure, and if government comes there, no problem. Unfortunately, you can't predict when government will be coming into a certain area for removal. So what we generally, collectively, as residents of FCT, benefit is their safety and security.
Safety and security.
Yes.
But the people will tell you, no, we are okay here. Nothing is, we even have organized, community security, and we don't have problem. Leave us the way we are.
Yes, leaving them the way they are will always have an after effect later in the future, which the FCT administration tries to avoid. Because you see, for example, now if you look at just say Makaranta axis, where there was flood at a certain time and houses were submerged, you will see that people bought land and built on waterways. Are you saying the administration will leave them because they want to live there at the detriment of their own safety? Governance is all about ensuring that the people they govern are protected, and government will always do the needful to ensure that that objective is achieved, and that's why we are there.
Well, one question that keeps recurring is that why the presence of heavy security personnel whenever this exercise is being carried out? It's just a demolition, so why heavy presence of security personnel?
Yes, you know, most of these places that removals are being carried out, you have other criminal activities going on there. Like, for example, if you go to where you have shanties, you have high rate of illicit drug dealings. On the tax team, we have the NDLEA officials too, that deals with that aspect.
Okay, so is a joint
it's a joint tax team that has all relevant security agencies. We have the Nigerian Police, we have the Department of State Service, we have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, we have the NDLEA, we have the Nigerian Immigration Service on board. We also even have the road safety and the VIO for traffic control. Now, at times you go to some areas to carry out removal, and you have illegal immigrants living in such locations that don't even have an address. Naturally, when you are coming into any country, you are meant to be properly documented by the immigration service. But whenever we go out and the immigration personnel on the team identify such people, they are able to apprehend them and carry out further investigation. Then also, we've seen places where we go to carry out removal of shanties, and we have recovered arms and ammunition. Whenever you see, when you go to remove shanties and you recover arms and ammunition, you don't need any gods to tell you what type of environment you are. So you will not, we go into such environment, such removal with all relevant security agencies, because anything could happen. At times, the people might even become riotous just because you are removing illegal structures that are not meant to be there. So that is part of why we have the joint tax team always on board.
In carrying out this exercise, we know, like you said, it's for the safety of FCT residents. And this is what government should do to ensure the safety of lives and property, because that is government's responsibility. We all get that. But the thing is that, are you not bothered that this could have a ripple effect, in terms of insecurity, when people are being displaced? Because these persons, they don't displace them and they leave the city. They stay behind. So are you not bothered?
Well, you know, whenever you go to remove illegal structures and the rest, even those who are in the enforcement team are also human. We feel for these people. But at the same time, like I said, if the needful is not done on time, it is still the same set of people that would accuse the government of not doing the needful. Now, when you go there and you remove some people have always bring up what you have just said, that if you displace them from here, they move to another place. Exactly. And they constitute another nuisance and crime rate. Yes, crime in anywhere in the world is mobile. Crime moves at every point in time. But one good thing we have been able to achieve in FCT is that as you dislodge them here, we have put in measures in another parts to curtail whatever repercussion that might come up. For example, now, when you dislodge shanties, those living in shanty, most of them, anybody living in shanty, most of them don't even have proper means of identification. They just come in there from wherever they want and start building structures. FCT is meant to be developed in phases, but because this set of people have come to distort the master plan, it has even affected the FCT carrying out developmental structures, infrastructures. For example, you see people building on road corridor that are meant for people to enjoy. Now, when we clear them from a certain location, they always emphasize that they might move to location A or location B. And that is why the Commissioner of Police, FCT, Sunday Babaji, has instructed all the DPOs. You know, there's no community you go that there will not be a police outpost and a police presence. Every community, command is just one for a state, but you have divisions. Now, under the divisions, you have the outposts. Now, he has mandated all the DPOs that as the tax team is carrying out this removal, they will always carry out intelligence gathering in their own location, so that when these people are trying to come to relocate to their own environment, they inform us and we're able to nip it on the board. So what we have achieved so far is not these people leaving a location A to location B within FCT, but most of them have been leaving FCT. And that is why you can see that FCT is peaceful and safe and secured.
Okay, yeah, if I just join us, the program is this morning on ITV. Such a discussion, we would like to get feedback from our viewers, and which is why our lines are open. You call in. Please, when you do, choose your words carefully. If you use insulting and inciting words, we will just end the call. So the lines will be on air. Yeah, that is it. You can call, and Olumuji Peter is here, the Secretary, Command and Control of the FCT Center, Command Control Center, FCTA. The question, I'm sure, will not be too tight for him to handle. Yeah, it's already ringing, but let's take this particular one. Most time when you sanitize the city, and in your own word, most time is when you remove structure, you discover that the rubbles are left there, and rather than having a clean environment, it becomes even more dirty. Why?
No. Whenever we remove,
you don't clear the rubble.
Yes, whenever, what we do, the tax team goes in to remove those shanties, and you have heap of rubbles. Now we have a second phase that most people don't know about.
Okay.
The relevant department and in FCT administration, like the development control and the environmental, goes back to such location to carry out a mopping exercise that's cleaning the rubble. But most people don't always know that, because it is not done that same day. It is always done the next day or a day after or 2 days after. But the tax is so enormous. So most people just see us removing that particular day, but they don't know other clearance operation that goes in after that particular day. So we don't leave the rubbles. The relevant department always go back to remove such rubbles.
Yeah, but we can pinpoint some areas where those rubbles are still there and nothing has been done to remove it. For example, in Papi here, if you drive down, you discover that it is like this undulation. You go up, you come down because of the presence of the rubbles left there. And most time you discover that when that happens, it gives room for criminals to also come. Why don't you go with security? Why don't you leave security around for say 2-3 days to ensure that the people are safe as a result of the exercise you carried out?
Yes, like I made mention of earlier on, there is always security after our operation. The police, like I told you, the police division within that jurisdiction are saddled with that responsibility of ensuring that after our major operation, they ensure that the environment is safe and secured. And that has been going on. I remember when we came into Pape some few months ago, and we removed structures on the
Okay, we're on the phone line now, so let me hold your thought there. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Tunde from Abuja. Papi.
I didn't get your name clearly.
My name is Tunde from Papi.
Tunde from Papi.
Tunde from Papi. Please try to speak up so that our guests can hear you clearly. You know. So, what's your question or comment? Tunde. All right, we lost that there, and which is why if you want to call, try to ensure that you get a very good reception so you don't start and have difficulty in making your point. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Dave, I'm calling from Lokogoma.
Okay.
Emmanuel from Lokogoma.
Emmanuel from Lokogoma, your question or comment?
Yes, what I want to contribute is that please, these people are Nigerians. These are people that are giving them the land to stay as Nigerians. Please, government should look into it seriously because this is what divides the country. Because I do hear the man leading the exercise saying that we are going to compensate indigenous. In the open television, we are going to compensate indigenous and we don't compensate other people. This is wrong. Those people crying and go back to their hometown will not be happy to see strangers. We should make Nigeria a global village so that anybody that stays in this country will know that yes, I belong to this country. Why? If it suits those people, they will not go and live in that kind of environment. If it suits them, if they have money to buy a house in that and it's in an estate, they will do that. But when they go and see people are living here, okay, let me live with them, they collect their money, give them land, they build, and the same people will point out for you to demolish, and you demolish them. And I watched that day on the television and see a woman that was crying, please, where will my children stay when they are coming back from school? It's heart touching.
Okay, Mr. Emmanuel, you have made your point. Thank you so much. You have made your point. He will respond to that shortly. Hello? Your name and where you calling from? Emmanuel again. Where in Abuja? Maitama. Tell us your comment.
What I want to say, the problem is not all those locations. Those locations are places for some people who can afford money to pay. But the main problem is this Mebola. Mebola, if you come to the inside Maitama, all the tunnel, underground tunnel, has been removed. See, you need to come inside town and see how underground tunnel, both the waterboard and other type places. So the main problem in security in this Abuja are Mebola. They are the main engine of all this terrorism and so much other things that are happening in Abuja. I'm telling you the gospel truth. If you really want to know this way these people are operating, come out by 2 in the night. They are walking all around. If a Mebola doesn't have identity, you can't even identify exactly where it is. I'm begging you people, please to do something. The main problem is Mebola. They should work on it.
Okay, you have made your point, Emmanuel from Maitama. It means that you support demolition.
I support demolition, but the main problem of demolition is not
Okay, your concern is aftermath of demolition.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
All
I
right.
support.
All right, thank you. You have made your point. You support demolition. Let's also hear from those that are against demolition and why. All right, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Richard. I'm calling from Papi.
Okay, quickly, Richard. What is your comment?
My comment is that the security is the major responsibility of the government, like you said. But I think there should be scale of preference. And in the scale of preference, like they said, people that were kidnapped, and all those insurgent areas should be of more priority to the state of the nation than demolishing people's houses, because those people that have been with their houses are demolished and they have been displaced.
Okay, Rita, you're talking about security for those that have been displaced. All right, it's noted. Let's take a very short break. All right, it's still this morning on ITV. Before the break, we are of course taking calls from viewers who have comment to make or question for our guest, Mr. Peter, concerning why the FCTA should demolish if there's any need, and of course why demolish and leave the environment prone to criminals. And so many calls have come in. I'm sure you can answer to those questions asked, especially the fact that those that you want to compensate that are indigent, why compensate only indigent and leave the non-indigent? So let's hear from you.
Yes, Mr. Emmanuel that called from Pape talking about compensating indigents and leaving out non-indigent. I want us to understand something here. The indigents are the owner of FCT, and there's a government plan in relocating them, in resettling them to another part of FCT. Now, some of these places that they are meant to be resettled are not fully completed. So they are allowed to still be in their immediate community. That is the ancestral community. Most of the places you see this mighty development going on now belonged to these indigents. We came to Abuja to meet them here, and displacing them without compensating them or resettling them properly will be injustice to them. Now, for the non-indigent, the reason why the FCT administration do not compensate non-indigent is that most of the most of the non-indigent always develop their property in illegal locations. Now, in FCT, if you want to own a house, you must go to Aegis, they allocate you a land, you go to development control, you get the building plan approval, then you can continue building. If during that period, after you've gotten your building plan approval, they notice that that place for public interest, there's a need for that building to be removed, such a person will be compensated. But it's not someone that just decided to see an open field somewhere or a road corridor that have not been developed and goes there to erect shanties or batches.
They pay for it.
I'm coming to that. Now, there have been awareness being created over and over again that no chief in FCT has the right to sell you a land. But unfortunately, our people know this, but they will still go there to buy from chief. When you are buying land in Maitama for 50,000 naira, that should tell you that there is something wrong with such a location. You will know that that location is not even meant for you to be. You understand? So when you go to buy land from chiefs and the removal is being carried out, then you don't expect any compensation. But those, like I told you, those that government compensates are those that have the genuine paper and approval. And maybe because of national public interest, government wants to take over that place, they compensate such a person. Then going to the second Mr. Emmanuel that talked about Babambola in different parts within the city center, we commenced a massive operation on clearing this Babambola. If you go around the city center, you see that most of the manholes have been stolen by these boys. And they are always, let us take note that in FCT, the operation of Babambola within the city center have been banned. They have been banned.
We see them around.
That's it. And the police have been given the mandate.
Is there like a sensitization or an awareness for people to know that, because you're just saying it for people to know?
Yes, part of the sensitization and awareness is what ITV has brought me to do now. And people are listening now. activity
is there something like jingles?
Like
yes, we have jingles that that have
don't
been.
have it.
We have jingles that have been put together by the Abuja Environmental Protection Board on that,
Yeah.
which has been shared.
Can we have it?
Okay, I will get it across to you.
Yeah.
Now,
But it's for a fee.
so Babambola are not meant to operate within the city center. They have the dump site at Guza, Guza that they are meant to be. And the administration have also been meeting with their leadership. You know, Babambola, they have leadership also.
Oh, they have association.
Yeah, they have association. Now, most of these boys you see around now does not even belong to that association. And that is why the police, through the office of the Commissioner of Police, have mandated the DPOs that anywhere they cite them, they will be arrested. Some few months ago, over 300 were arrested that were picked up from different parts of FCT. Then lastly, Mr. Richard talked about scale of preference in terms of our operation. Well, in FCT is a growing urban city. And the influx of people into FCT is more than what has been emphasized. And why is this? Because of security challenges in other states. People believe FCT is safe because FCT is safe, and there's high demand for labor. And when people come into FCT, you know, to carry on their daily needs, you realize that at the end of the day, criminality also comes in. Because again, you should also know that our scale of preference is on the border community. Before that, you used to hear about kidnapping and the rest, but for the past few months now, you cannot, there's nothing like kidnapping because there's a special operation going on at the border communities and within the contiguous states to FCT. That is one preference. Then the second preference that we have also is clearing the city center for traditional crimes and activities, because once you allow all these shanties and the rest to continue to grow, then we are waiting for disaster to happen for our nearest generation, which the FCT administration will not allow.
Yeah, while the FCT administration is taking this step to prevent breakdown of law and order, what action has it take against community leaders that sell this land to innocent citizens?
Yes, for community leaders.
Because any building you are pulling down, someone has given that person the authority to build, the permission to build, the approval to build. And if it is in a place where it is not approved by the FCT, the community leaders have done so. If it is in a place where it is approved, it means the officers of development control saw it and looked the other way. What is happening?
Yeah, for the community leaders, and let me correct an impression here. Most of these places you see that have been sold out and people say it's cheap, you realize that at most times it's even the youths within that community, because these places are meant. I'm coming. Most of these places are meant to be their farmland, because you cannot just displace them, the indigens. But you know, the youths, maybe I will call it youthful exuberant, we want to make quick money and want to give it out to unsuspecting non-indigens. But at this stage, at this time in the FCT, almost 80%, if not 90%, knows that you are not meant to get a land from chiefs or even their boys. Okay. Now, you now talked about the chief knowing that this is coming up. We have the Area Council Service Commission who have been interfacing with the chiefs and letting them know the implication of allowing their youth to go into such. And there have been a tremendous change in such. But unfortunately, most of the some of the non-indigens will also want to induce these boys with huge sums of money. We have seen cases whereby these youths say, no, we don't need your money. We are not meant to sell this land to you. And that non-indigen says, just allow me. I know what to do with the government officials. Whereas you cannot bribe the government officials, because once you erect illegal structure somewhere, the enforcement team will surely come and take it down. At times, they will even tell you they are contributing money to go and bribe the enforcement team. Nobody can bribe us. You've seen it in different locations where they thought some people have come to deceive them that they should contribute money. We go in there and still carry out our removal without fear or favor.
Okay, my question is that you said there's an interface with the leaders, with the chiefs, to make sure that, to ensure that they do not sell lands. Because whether it is the youth or no youth, you and I know that these chiefs, they are always in the know of this. Let's assume that the one that has been done has been done. Okay, what if in the future, in the nearest future, they continue? Is there any sanction or anything?
I don't even think they will continue, because we've been getting good cooperation from them. So we are not even expecting that. What we are clearing is backlog of what has happened before now. But the chiefs have given us that commitment that they are ready to protect the sanctity of the land in FCT and to ensure that they abide with the law.
Okay, so, but the exercise is still on.
Yes.
Can we ever have a time whereby you are done with all the clearing and you now have officers on the ground to ensure that no new structure is erected? If this demolition, is as far back as about 10, 15 years ago, and we are still demolition, it means people are still building. So can we tackle it from the root where people are prevented from building?
I think the best way to tackle this, preventing people from building, is for us, the residents of FCT, to now be our brother's keeper. And what do I mean by that? When we know that this place, we are not meant to have a structure there, when you see something, you ought to inform those saddled with that responsibility to ensure that that building does not stand there. Because most of the time is that people just go to some places they feel government presence will not come there. Everywhere in Abuja in the master plan has a particular what do I call it now? A particular function, in that particular place.
Be it recreational
or anything.
Hospital.
If government presence has not come there, that does not mean government presence will not come there. Again, the FCT administration, under the office of the office of the Honorable Minister, Muhammad Musa Bello, has also instructed relevant agencies to ensure that they step up their monitoring capacity, so that we don't wait for people to build on waterways or to build shanties somewhere before the needful is done. And that is why you see that the enforcement is going on a daily basis. Once we leave here now, we are going also to some other locations. And also, you should take note that in the world over, removal of structures, illegality is a norm everywhere. And even when you have the urban center built, there's something we call redevelopment, reintegration, and the rest. You always want to redesign it to meet up what is obtainable at that material point in time. So what we are doing is to ensure that on a daily basis, we ensure that the master plan is not distorted, and where it has been distorted, we remove those encumbrances and make sure that the rightful people, again, we want to also use this medium to warn landowners, people that have been allocated plots. Some of them even rent out their plots to these babambolas to come and use for a fee, because they are not ready to develop that plot yet. The FCT administration has also mandated the development control. We have list of those plots, and they've written to the plot owners. So this work is, we should do it holistically. As the government is playing their part, we the residents too should know that where you are not meant to build, don't go there without your approval, and it will help us.
But is it true that some residents cajole the administrators, the officers, to pull down structure?
Well,
maybe somebody is not happy with, for example, his neighbor, and he knows somebody somewhere that can talk to somebody in
that will talk to somebody,
and that will deal with you, and you go and you meet and say, this man has no paper. Pull down his structure.
Good. Let me explain it in two dimensions. The first dimension, if you have your building plan approval that have been given by development control and you have a legal land, there is nobody that can cajole the officials to pull down your structure, because there is a process you must go through. And once they notice that you have all relevant documentation, nobody can cajole anybody. Now, when you now take the second dimension is when you now have buildings that are illegal or shanties, that one the government official does not even need, because we also talk about getting feedback from the residents. And we've been receiving a lot of feedbacks. People have been calling us to tell us, oh, there's this shanty building up in a particular area, there's this illegal structure. Once we get such intelligence, we pass it on to development control, who goes there to verify. And once we know it does not have the approval, then that place we don't even need anybody. We go in there to carry out removal.
So what you're saying is that even if somebody tried to pull that stunt, as long as the person who is being reported has his documents intact,
we have seen it. People have pulled that stunt and we have disappointed them, unfortunately.
So actually they call.
Yes, they do. They say, oh, this one, and when we go in to verify, we see this person has approval and the rest, and we ignore it. We are not carried away by anything at all.
All right, just two more calls and we'll wrap up. Just two more calls, we'll wrap up. It's an opportunity for you.
The calls are coming already.
To actually ask questions, since we have an authority with us. Very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Pate.
Okay, your name?
My name is Ola.
Okay, tell us what your question is.
Yeah, please, quick one. I want to confirm, like for instance, now someone that is not fortunate to get a white scholarship, you understand, and this person finds his way to be living around this area that they are taking. What is the government's plan towards this people and they not Nigeria?
Okay, that is taken. Ola from Papi. Here's another call. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you calling from? Please, can you speak up? I can barely hear you.
Yes, my name is Nicholas. I'm calling from Lugbe.
Okay, Nicholas from Lugbe. Let's hear your comment.
Please, I'm only saying that to stop this illegal trading, first of all, only thing we can do to stop it, to stop the chiefs and all these indigenous to save the land. Then immediately we just get one chief or two to punish them, to stop stealing that land. Nobody will do it again. Because you can't just go and build the land that nobody says. No matter how they bribe them, no matter how they get it wrong. The only thing you need to call the chief and tell them to stop anybody that is saying land. There is a law. There is a law that will hold the person so that they will not say any land to anybody again. When things will happen, there is no illegal structure anymore in FCT. Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to another person. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Your name and where you calling from?
This is Samuel Adeyemi calling from Lugbe.
Okay, Samuel Adeyemi from Lugbe. Quickly, let's hear your comment.
Okay, I actually want to give an answer that they should not be that institutions should not allow people to finish or complete their project before they start coming into position. Their teams, the general control is supposed to be moving around and be checking all areas so that at the beginning, when they start their foundation, they can be watched. Then concerning the area of this village heads and what have you, they are the main problem as far as illegal structures concerned. They are the ones that give approval. They collect money, not the youth. I was once a victim. I came into Abuja as a new person. I don't know where to go and all those stuff. Immediately I got the people and made the ship. The ship gave me a place, I paid, they gave me papers and what have you. When the devolution came, the man isolated his name. And the government then did not do anything about it, did not put any sanction on that issue. So these are things that maybe they are collaborating.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's take this last one.
Okay.
Hello, your name and where you calling from? Please, can you speak up? I can barely hear you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Mohammed.
Okay, Muhammad, you are calling from where?
From Pape.
Okay, let us hear your contribution. You like demolition, right?
Yes, about the demolition.
So tell us about it.
Right. And in the when they are selling land for people, they don't demolish their own. That people or not in the when they decide the land to build the house, they want demolish that is not good now. You understand? Something I think was some house, they will leave one, demolish another one. It's not good. And these people that because of why they're not in the you went back. I'm not asking about it. Seriously, my brother.
Okay, thank you for your call. All right, the very last one now. Your name and where you calling from?
Okay, my name is Jakes.
Jakes, you are calling from where?
I'm calling from Area 11 there.
Area 11, Garki.
Yeah, Abuja.
Do you like demolition?
No. A quick one. I want to get clarification from a number of things.
Go on. He's hearing you.
Yes. So, number one, I want him to tell us. I have a parcel of land in the way. Now, I want to build. What are the procedures? What do I need to do? Where is the office? Because these information are not there in the public, and people are confused. You know, sometimes you can easily be taken at all these scammers who swindle your little money you have. That is number one. Number two, I also have another land in Nyanya that I have all the documents verified with me. But some folks are on it, one church and then one person build one bedroom like that. And they're giving me headache. How do I go about it to send them out?
Okay, so he has heard you. Now you listen to the questions, and in fact, all the question raised by those that have called him. So we'll take a break on the phone lines now. So much for you.
Yes, we want to appreciate our viewers for their feedback. We thank Mr. Ola from Pape, Mr. Nicholas from Lugbe, Mr. Samuel from Lugbe, Mr. Mohammed from Pape, and our last caller, Mr. James from Area 11. Let me start with Mr. James. Number one, if you have a parcel of land at Lugbe, is it a government allocation? And how will you know if it's a government allocation? You go to Aegis to verify that. Once it's government allocation, the next step is for you to go to the Department of Development Control at Wuse Zone 6. That is where they now start processing your land for building plan approval, and that is where you get your building plan approval. And nobody, no government official, once you have your building plan approval, can come there to intimidate you. Secondly, your parcel of land at Nyanya that you say that have been encroached by some religious houses and people, the best thing for you to do is to do an official letter complaining to development control, because there's a district officer in charge of Nyanya. So when you do that letter to the development control, automatically they will step in and ensure that those people who are encroaching into your land, if it is genuinely allocated to you, they are going to remove them from that land, and you have access to your land. Mr. Ola talked about white collar job. Well, for years, not having white collar job and living in places that you are not meant to live, the answer is so glaring. It's so glaring. You are not meant to live in a place that is not meant for residential. And if the tax team comes, that place will be removed. So please try and rent a house where you know the place has a building plan approval and is secured. Then Mr. Nicholas talked about the indigents selling land and the rest. If we as non-indigent decide in our hearts that we are not going to waste our money giving to indigents, buying land, original inhabitants, you understand? Well, if we determine these boys or they will not have any way to come and bamboozle us in parting with our hard-earned money, and at the end of the day, the structure is pulled down. So I want to advise the residents, please and please, don't buy land from any chief. If you do that, it is illegal, and when the tax team come, they are going to remove your structure. So please don't waste your money by bribing indigene. You can go to Aegis and apply for a land, and you'll be given a land. There's a process you follow, you'll be given a land. Then Mr. Samuel talked about we should not allow the building. Now, one beautiful thing here is that for those that are building on illegal places, the development control will always go there to mark. They mark the land and give you notice for you to evacuate, to leave the place. But most of the time, even when the development control has gone to mark, giving 21 days notice or 3-month notice, somebody within that same community will go and tell the people there that just contribute 10,000, 5,000, will go and bribe the officials. They are not going to come here. No, don't do that. Don't contribute money to anybody. Once you've seen the development control red paint marking that this place will be removed, I beg you, with the mercies of God, to start packing your things and relocate to a better place.
If it is wrongly marked?
Now, if it is wrongly marked, like I told you, if you have proof that your building is wrongly marked and wrongly demolished, there's what we call you can appeal. And when you do that, I can tell you without fear of favor that you'll be compensated.
What about the trauma?
Yes, I know, like I said earlier on, even if it is in shanties or any other place, we, the enforcement team, always feel pained removing these structures. I must tell you the fact, people call us heartless. We are not heartless. We have blood flowing in our vein, and we feel very, very pain. But at the same time, the job must be done, because if we don't do it, it is our future, it is our children that will suffer the repercussion. We've seen flood in Trademore, where people build on waterways, and because they wanted to please somebody else, people died. And lastly, we'll just talk about the indigenes.
Let's take a quick break for
okay.
some commercial. When we come, we'll take the last part, and then we'll round up. Yeah, it is still this morning on ITV, and of course we'll be looking at how to clean up the city, and you know it comes with so many demolitions. And one of our own, of course one of our own is the Secretary Command and Control Center of the FCTA, Olumuji Peters, and he has been listening to questions and been doing justice to those questions. So now let's take the concluding part.
Yes, one thing again I want to educate our people this morning is that when you go to buy land from a chief, they will always assure you, like Mr. Atta, the SSA to the Honorable Minister will always say, that how will you go and buy land? And they write the agreement on the foolscap sheet of paper. No lawyer, nothing. You just sign. I sign as witness, you sign as witness, and you believe you have a genuine land. It's not done. Most of the time, when they do that, they even tell you there's a register at the chief palace that they are going to put your name. When the demolition team comes, they are not going to touch you. It's a lie. Most of the time, when we come there for removal, it is these same people that sold those parcels of land to you that will point the houses that does not belong to them. And automatically, I've seen cases. We went to somewhere at Sabo, Ido. What they did at Zamani village, what these people did is that they went to meet the indigenes and say, claim that this house belongs to you. And they gave some of them 100,000, 200,000 to be protected. Now, unfortunately, one of those that that pulled that deal with them, his own house was demolished because it belongs to somebody else. So they had to come out and expose themselves. And at the end of the day, everything was pulled down. So no matter what, the indigenous houses will remain. But for non-indigenous,
there's a way they won't build their houses.
No, their own houses.
They have a way of building their houses.
One thing I want to tell our viewers. No, I want to tell our viewers something. For the
level you're thinking about, they've gone past that level.
This is when?
No, for the indigenous, there have been enumeration that have been done on their houses. The FCT administration under the Department of Resettlement and Compensation has their record, the building type and everything. So if we are coming to a place, we are not just coming because we want to come. We are coming because we have knowledge of where and where does not belong to indigene. So don't let any indigene deceive you that he or she will protect your house when the team comes. Because remember, from behind, they are the one that will be pointing the other. One changida banamuba, one now namule. You understand? That is what they do.
So what it is that house
yes,
is not
it's not our own. This one is our own.
So you that is buying or you are planning to buy, they said what is enough price?
So thank you so very much, Secretary, Command and Control Center of the FCTA, Olumuji Peter, for your time with us on the program.
Thank you.
So much have been said. I'm sure that the residents have taken note. If you must own a property in the FCT, please go to the appropriate channel. What does it take to apply for a land?
You go to Aegis, you pay, if it is a residential, you pay the mandatory fee into a bank.
How much?
I should think it's 100,000. I'm not into that. But when you go to Aegis, all necessary guidelines will be given to you. The document you will need to produce. When you pay that, they open the file for you. Then you wait for when the allocation will come. You know, so it's very, very simple.
Does it come all the
What
time?
about this building plan?
Yes.
Is there a fee?
No, the building plan is
for building.
Yeah, the building plan is handled by development control. They have stages.
Is it free or for a fee?
I want to believe it's for a fee.
Okay.
But the fee is very, very minimal.
You think
but
so?
Yes, very, very minimal. And again, when you go apply for your building plan, don't go and think you want to do the backyard one. When you go for backyard deal, you will spend more. But if you go for official, nobody will stop you.
It will take time.
It will not take time. No, the director we have, Alhaji Mukhtar Galadima, MNI, the director of development control, is somebody that is always doing his own thing at the right time and the way it ought to be done. So we should not be afraid. Most of the time, people want to cut corners.
They want sharp.
And they want sharp. Okay. And once you want sharp, you always get sharp at the end of the day.
Right. Stop sharp. Don't cut corner for you to be an authentic landlord in the FCT. Thank you once again. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we shall be looking at other issues